Hate it. Another weekend. Another live. A 3-year beard. Here we go. It's looking nice. And I took a nap because, man, we went to a buffet earlier. And needless to say, I was stuffed. Stuffed like a Thanksgiving turkey. Ready for that itis. Ready for the. So I feel much better. I'm enjoying a can of prebiotic Poppy, the Doc Pop. I think it's supposed to be the Dr. Pepper version, but they can't do that. They can't say Dr. Pepper, Ollie Pop, or Poppy. Is there another one called Ollie? I don't know. There's a bunch of like probiotic stuff that it's could be beneficial for your gut health. I suppose. I think that's the claim. But here, cheers for that. Cheers for healthy pooping. Don't you want to hit the healthy pooping? I'm spitting on the screen because of my mustache is catching some of this Poppy. So go ahead and get some Poppy. If you like prebiotic soda, it's pretty good. Poppy. Almost like indicating poopy. Poppy. Poopy. Okay, enough of that. So, welcome to another live. I am excited because I just continue to keep growing this beard. And it's been like a little over 5 months now. So, not bad. Impressive. And I think if you look back on some of the earlier videos, you end up seeing that, hey, my beard is kind of running its course the same length. Although I think it's kind of like getting to be a little bit thicker and a little bit longer compared to the 10 years ago, that 5-month mark. Although I think I was like trying to compare it to the 4-month at one point. But I think it's still pretty good. Just lifting it up, lifting it down. I've been micro trimming it just a little bit because there's some hairs that like strand way too far, way too long. So I got to just continue to keep it nice and cut, trim. And there's a few of the flyaways. That's another word that I kind of figured out. I discovered recently just by watching other beard videos and other influencers on Instagram. There's one guy called Dad Beard Gang, and he talks about the flyaways. So it's basically these like little hairs that are just kind of like just out in the open, and sometimes you can like comb it down and kind of get it intertwined inside so that way it just doesn't pop out. But eventually you're going to want to like trim just slightly, usually at the end of the day. That's also something I learned about maintaining and trimming a beard. Is it's better to do it later in the day when your beard is kind of done being a beard, after you go out of a shower, and then you get your shampoo and conditioner. It's all very clean, very soft. So it's not going to reflect exactly how your beard is going to start ending up as it just continues to fly in the wind, as you're walking throughout the day. It's not going to settle. So basically that's you wait until your beard settles at the end of the day, so that way you can kind of see where the flyaways occur. So I've been doing that like not all the time, just like maybe periodically. Maybe once every month I'll just kind of like go in and just do a little quick small little micro trim. But I don't want to like continue to compromise the thickness and the amount of length that I have for this beard, because I want to keep continuing to grow it as much as my new job is going to let me. That's one thing, is like no one has came up to me and said, man, Justin, your beard is getting a little long for this healthcare thing. What are you going to do? I mean, eventually we're going to have to keep it like nice and form fitted, because what if you have to enter in an isolation room, which means like a patient is has like an airborne disease, or like has contracted something that You don't want to walk into the room without your PPE, your personal protective equipment. So you need to know how to put on your N95 mask. I'm not fitted for the regular N95. I'm actually fitted for one of those like machines that you have to like put on, like those industrial masks. I'm okay with that, but generally I'm doing outpatient, so it's basically the patients that have been discharged from the rehab hospital from upstairs. They've already gone home, and now they're continuing their rehabilitation therapy when they, have scheduled time to come in. So they can come from their homes to the clinics bottom downstairs, and that's where I work. I work on downstairs in the outpatient where patients are still receiving therapies, physical therapy, occupational therapy, as well as like a few others. But it's really fun, and plus I think it's because like I'm not in that isolation, environment where like people are coming from the hospital being transferred over to the PAM, which is basically post acute medical hospital. They get transferred back to from the hospital to this next transit area just to get more rehab. So that's where I am, downstairs, outpatient. Patients already went home. So, anyways, I want to talk about like this product that I've been using lately, Weatherbeard. I think it's a great product because not only has it been uh, tested many times through studies using natural oils that have been proven to nourish the skin and the follicles, as well as being able to put a tonic on, which is a beard stimulator growth. I've been doing that a little bit, and I'm starting to see that like my beard is becoming just a little bit more healthier, just more pliable, more, able to not like I don't get much hair strands that are pulled out as much as I did before. So, and it smells really good. It's like, scents for guys, like cedar, fir, and oud. These are all like, different particular scents that come from plants, wood, uh, extracts of just natural materials that come from Mother Earth, right? Isn't that cool? Our bodies are meant to be acclimated to what is received for us in on this earth. That's why peppermint oils and rosemary oils for beard stimulation to continue to wake up those follicles and continue to produce and become nourished for your beard and your skin. So there's a lot of science behind it, but yeah, Weatherbeard has been, seeing that they really care about the natural approach as opposed to the cosmetics. Everybody likes that. Like for instance, aside from Weatherbeard, I do like this other brand, Live Bearded. And this is the beard butter. This is kind of more of a, I would say they have more commercialized scents where you can kind of like it smells like something where you get like a men's cologne, but just a little bit more cleaner smelling. I like the Legend edition because it actually, my wife likes that kind of smell. She also likes the natural smells too. Cedar crest is a great smell. When I open it up, mm, it smells good. It smells like a nice cedar wood with like a hint of pine. It's like it has a good sweet smell too, and it's not overpowering. It's not like that type of like incense that you burn off and it's like ugh. It's just nice and light. It smells good. It's males and females, they like this smell. It's good. And plus, again, it's 100% natural, made for your beard, and that's why I like Weatherbeard. I've been using their products for like quite a few months. So I'm really enjoying their products because it just keeps my beard looking healthy. I think that's why my job ain't coming up to me and saying, Justin, you need to shave that beard. Man, it's like you're around patients. What's going to happen? It's like, well, they're not wearing masks either, bro. Like it's outpatient. So I just want to like, sort of push the limits because I already was approached by a new hire that was also named Justin. He's also like he's working in another department, but yeah, he comes in with a beard, with a nice more trimmed beard, and I'm like, "Hey, Justin," and he's like, "Oh, your name is Justin? Yeah, Justin and Justin, yeah." And so he like talks about like, "Man, that's a great beard. That's a big beard." I'm like, "Yeah, how long you been growing yours?" And he's like, "Yeah, I grew it for 5 months, but I had to like trim it down because I wanted to make look prep. I wanted to make it look professional." I'm like, I like that. I like that. I'm pushing the limits. I told him, so he laughed, um, and I want to push the limits even more. I want to see like what I can kind of get away with, because eventually I think it would be fun just kind of braiding the hair, just kind of getting it nice and tight and fitted, where I can actually have fun with this beard, not just make it so that it's like a boxy look, and then it's just going to continue to grow into a box. I don't want to be boxed in with this beard. I want like fun possibilities, and I want to entertain you guys. I want to make it fun so that way you're just not watching a daily growth and like, hey, this is what I learned. Today's beard joke, like other things that many other, influencers, beard influencers have done previous, I'm sure. But yeah, I just want to make it nice and unique and just me. That part of being me is just like adding the fun and silliness to things like growing a beard. But again, I don't think of myself as a legend yet. But what I will say is our next legendary beard of today is Merlin. Merlin, you guys have heard Merlin, right? Well, if you haven't heard of Merlin, I'm pretty sure you know him from this picture. Yes, Disney's Sword in the Stone. That's Merlin. And Merlin is an interesting cat. He's kind of a mythical figure, prominently featured in the legend of King Arthur, as best known as a prophet and a magician. I mean, most magicians usually have like this very, very long beard, and this guy, I know this picture doesn't like really serve his beard that well, but I think at one time in the movie you see his beard just like almost reach his feet. So, depending on how he's stancing and everything, it's a long beard. It's a long beard, and for good reasons, because magicians like wizards, they need a long beard to signify. I guess there's a mythical. Um, there's something mythic about it, where if your beard grows very, very long, you're seen as sort of a sage or a wizard. I don't know why that's coined, but I think there's something behind it where, like, if your beard grows that long, there's some type of natural superpowers that people talk about. Like, this is almost like an antenna cord of your extension of your body, just like your hair can be. In fact, the opposite lore. I think this comes from which lore does this come from? Um, uh, I know it was like a Here, let me move back over here because I think it said up here. It was it's like a specific word for some type of lore. You know how like other stories come from other different places and different ethnicities, different cultures, and this one is, my goodness, why am I not seeing it? It's because I need to click back one more time. It's the Arthurian lore, which I guess is maybe King Arthur. So yeah, it's the King Arthur lore. That made that sound a lot more difficult than it had to be. So going back to his um, key points of Merlin, he brings a fun, wise, chaotic energy to the series, in which you've probably seen his characters in, such as Sword in the Stone. He is a very loopy, fun-loving, kind of a sort of a modern take of a guy in the 70s or 80s, where he's just like, hey, I'm a straight up bachelor. Let's and he hangs out with little uh, Arthur, King Arthur, before he was king. But anyways, yeah. And he's iconic. Long beard is associated with wisdom and magic, as I said before. Keeps the council from feeling too serious all the time. I mean, come on, he's out there, making cakes, and he's like making plates float in the air, and with his little like rhythm as he does that little like Abracadabra, da 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 da. 50 size, 50 tall, da 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 da. Hippity zippity zippity toe, da da da. Prestidigitatonio. If you guys ever saw that Disney film, it's fun. I suggest you watch it. And if you haven't, please, I suggest you watch it. If you have, awesome. You're part of the club. What club? I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. Um, so the three fun facts I can say about Merlin is in Sword of the Stone, Merlin lives backwards through time and often knows things before they happen. I think that's why eventually you start seeing Merlin poof in the room where he's like wearing like a modern flannel shirt or something, like a modern like a Hawaiian shirt with like some type of shorts, like he just came back from the Bahamas or like, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, maybe that makes sense. And they didn't really press that in the story of Sword of the Stone, but hey, that's fun. He's absent-minded and chaotic, but still deeply wise. Which I guess going back to many things. He's not only appreciated in his movie lore, but he's also appreciated in Halloween. So you can pick up a Merlin hat and mustache and the whole getup. You can get his beard just as long as he was for Halloween. So pick up yours for this next Halloween. You won't be uh, you won't be disappointed. And I also have a wizard puppet. I could probably bring that out, but I don't know. I'd rather just talk about um, Merlin right as he is now. Let's go back to this one because he's kind of a more, more kind of a natural depiction of what he was. This is kind of like another drawing rendition, but so yeah, the last one, his beard became one of the classic wizard beards looks in pop culture. Obviously, I think I mentioned that whole thing. This guy is such a trendsetter. I think that's why everyone's kind of most guys always want to grow it as long as they can until they can kind of tolerate it. Because even at this length of beard, it takes a lot of almost strength. It takes a lot of willpower because when you're sleeping, it'll tickle you, it'll frustrate you to no end because eventually these hairs get dry and brittle. And so that's why, daily routines are good for beards like this one or any beards. Again, men have like, sort of certain levels of patience, just like any person. And just like that, we have patience for how long we can tolerate these beards. And I think when you see a man, a mythical figure that, wears a long beard like that, or even down to his feet like that, then you kind of can see the patience and the determination and willpower that this person has. Again, I'm not saying this guy's real at all. We don't know, but it's fun to imagine. It's fun to see that, hey, this can constitute a sort of a almost a real life situation when you're trying to grow something like a long beard. But yeah, that's one of the great things that I love about bearded legends and to try to figure out who these bearded legends can be is you know the type of influence that we all get from these figures like Merlin. Merlin is a magical wizard beard that has been sort of adopted with many other characters who have similar long beards like he does. Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White, all those other pop culture wizards that we see nowadays, like they model everything that they get from Merlin. I'm assuming that. I could be wrong, but it's probably a good connection because this mythical figure has been around long ago, very long time, ever since the King Arthur court and the medieval times. This guy is probably the original wizard trendsetter. I can probably reassure you guys that. So if you ever see like a long beard, very very long beard, with a man with a patience and determination and willpower, just think of people like Merlin. Just think of people like Merlin because maybe he is studying some type of meditation magic where he can just endure that long. And of course, there is something called terminal length. Terminal length means that it's encoded apparently in your genes where certain amount of length of hair that continues to grow, at some point it'll stop. It'll stop growing. However, we can probably debug that. We can debunk it. I said debug it as if I'm like, making it a video game or like a computer software or something. It's not. Debunking something that it might be true to some people, but not that might not be true to everyone, because we see with the examples of men can grow very, very long beards. An example, another bearded legend that I'll probably touch base on is the guy who had the longest beard ever recorded. And there's other modern people out there. I'm probably going to be covering those types of men out there too, that no matter how long it can grow, it can still grow on people. So I don't know about terminal length, but what I do know is there are some things that might be a factor of why terminal length might be a thing. Improper diet, improper sleep, maybe it's too much stress in your life. If you can kind of like regulate your health more mentally, better with better physicality, and eat better with proper diets, our bodies need biotin, which is made from food. Our bodies need nourishing skin cells. Our bodies need things that we put in our bodies, and that's why we have stomachs, and that's why we have esophaguses, and the breakdown of food, so that way we can absorb that nutrients and then bring it on into us, our eyes, our skin, our hair, our nails, our organs. Everything is dictated on how we eat. So proper diet is definitely a big factor on possibly maybe eliminating that terminal length. If you had if you I don't know if there's like a science thing out there, but I'm pretty sure that there might be something to that. um, Usually a lot of like men who grow long beards like these are usually like the type of men who are like maybe from like the eastern area of the world. Obviously genes also do help with dictate the thickness and size, and the um, just the fill in of beards. However, I think proper diet will kind of continue to help continue that those genes become more nourished, become more thriving, and that way you can become a better version of what length you want for your beard. Guys, I mean, if they have like jobs where it allows them to just keep growing, like that's great. Physical therapy could be a possible route, because you're essentially working with other individuals, trying to condition their arms that are once damaged and trying to work them in. You can work those places out in the body, so that way you can become a little bit more independent, and you can become just better with your health and your physical um, limitations. I would say when you get older you have a lot of physical limitations, and working out, proper diet, exercise is usually a key thing to keep your body nice and conditioned and healthy. So who knows, there could be something about that. But I'll just continue to drink my prebiotic soda, the poppy, and maybe, I don't know, healthy poops usually are good. Mm. Speaking of which, there was a request, like I think 3 lives ago, that was asking about like, have you ever like shit your pants? And I never answered that, but I did say that I promised a story. So here's the story. When I was like 7 years old, I was like riding in the car with my mom, my sister. My sister is like 7.5, almost 8. And well, actually I think she was 8 already, so because we're like 11 months apart. So yeah, she was 8, I was 7, and we were like driving in the middle of the day on the weekend to go see her friend, my mom's friend. We don't know her anymore, but at the time she was a work friend and stuff. And I remember like needing to go poo really bad, and I was still sitting in the car. Like my mom had us sit in the car while while she was like talking to her friend outside of the car. and it was must have been like 5 minutes, but to me it was like 25 minutes. I was like rolling in the car. I was like trying to like constrain my. I was trying to just like hold it in. I was like, ugh, ugh, oh my god, and you know it almost seemed like I was about to make it, but literally like as we turned the block to the house, I shit my pants and in the car. I couldn't hold it anymore. And and I didn't make it. So we ended up like stopping by my grandmother's house. Was like probably just down the street. Um, it was still in the like the apartment complex because we all shared like a. We all were at the same apartment complex, except my mom, had purchased a separate apartment complex, and my grandma, decided, she was going to get her own as well. And we ended up going to my grandmother's apartment right after I shit my pants. I was like, at the time, 7 years old, I'm like, oh, I'm not even thinking about all this. Like, why are we going to grandma's house? Like, I just shit my pants. I don't want to go to grandma's house. No, but apparently my mom needed help, because I guess it was the first time she had to deal with a 7-year-old shitting their pants in the car, which was really stinky. I had some type of weird diet when I was a kid. I just ate. I had a pretty good one because my mom was, a good responsible parent. So she gave us like chicken and broccoli. But I mean, even talking about chicken and broccoli, wouldn't that make your shit stink? Like, right? Right? A lot of broccoli. I mean, trust me, you eat a lot of like, phosphorus, vegetables and stuff like cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. We had Brussels sprouts when we were growing up. But yeah, shit the car in the car, and we had to go inside the grandma's, and I remember having to take it off, and my grandma like had to take the soiled underwear and like take it to the bathroom, and as she's like taking it to the bathroom, she goes around the corner and I don't see her anymore, but all I hear is like, ow. Oh, I was like, man. And at 7 years old, you're still your mind is kind of like still a child, but at the same time, you're becoming a little bit more aware. And when stuff like that happens, you get more embarrassed. You just like become more embarrassed. When you're like 3 or 4, you're just like what, like you don't care. You don't mind at all. It's but like when I'm 7 years old, I'm trying to be a big kid. I'm trying to, and then suddenly, bam, like now my grandma's in on it, where she has to like witness me shitting my pants in the car. So yeah, that's the story of me forever. Like that's the only time I ever shit my pants. As far as I remember, that's the only time I've ever pooped my pants. All right. So that's the story of me pooping my pants. Yeah, 7 years old. But hope you guys enjoyed that. I also have purchased this little portable boar's hair brush. It's by the Sophisticated Wilds, and you purchase that on Amazon. It's nice. It's a more harder boar's hair brush, but I didn't want to bring my other boar's hair brush to work because it's too big. And like I want to put it in my pocket every once in a while, and then kind of go like this every once in a while, and keep it nice and form fitted because I am moving around the my job a lot. I'm constantly bending. I'm constantly like you know picking things up. I'm constantly moving around. So when you move around a lot, your beard can actually move around as well because like you're just stretching the skin all over the place, and the follicles are just trying to get to where they need to be. And that's why, going back to what I first originally said, you need to trim your beard. The best time to trim your beard is almost near the end of the day because everything's been moved around. All the follicles are kind of like getting used to where the beard naturally sits. So that's where you can kind of like, figure it out. I need to like trim these flyaways. But yeah, that's another thing. So here we go. I'm going to read the chat. I don't think anyone's here, but everyone said hi. Kiki, thank you. How you doing? Bayan, how you doing? Thank you for coming in the chat. Kiki again says hi. Thank you. Bayan says, I love this. I'm glad you like it. I'm just trying to be entertaining. I can only be entertaining so much to the point where I'm starting to sound stupid. And if that's the purpose of being entertained by a guy who's grown a 3-year beard sounding stupid, then hey, come and join me because you're going to get a lot of that. um, it looks like a Russian name. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it, but useless if you eat Monsanto. Well, again, I don't know about Monsanto. I've heard the left and right opinion about it. Apparently, there are some benefits to Monsanto. There probably isn't some long-term studies when it comes to consuming Monsanto products. But again, I'm not trying to be the hey, you guys should eat some Monsanto too. No, I'm just saying that from some other new studies that have been coming out, it's some of the vegetables from that are used to genetically manipulate it. It's all just trying to just pair this one breed of plant to another breed of plants, and then bam, now you get like more sweeter bananas. It's not like there's just spraying crops and everything. Monsanto just does more than just spray crops. And the spraying of crops, I don't like. I don't think that we need to spray certain crops because some vegetables and some fruits can be more permeable, meaning that the membranes can actually be more porous. So essentially, if you're spraying something, that spray will actually kind of seep into the vegetable or fruit, like what they call the dirty dozen fruit. The dirty dozen is like strawberries, grapes, blueberries, raspberries, just anything with the very, very soft membrane that you could just like squish in your hand. Um, Maybe kiwis are okay because it has a better membrane that's protecting the inside of it, including like things sometimes like melon or some things don't need to be sprayed because essentially the fruit or the vegetable has its own protective layer that you can kind of like not worry about it whatever getting in there. And there are some other natural sources where you can use like coffee grounds to like deter some bugs and stuff. There's other things you can do to make it organic. But again, not everything needs to be organic. I noticed that. Like, do you really need an organic apple? I mean, maybe because that would be part of the dirty dozen. So maybe organic apples would be important, like less staving away from this, from the products and sprays that having to keep the bugs away from it. Maybe even lasting a little bit longer. But again, I would say and I probably don't know any of this specifically, but I'm pretty sure I've read that there's like quite a majority of like plants and vegetables that are kind of genetically modified that we haven't ever had like in the last few centuries or something. But uh anyways, I don't know. I just think that there's like some information that's valid and some information that might be pushing towards some other thing that might be false information. But you decide, do your own research, and you can see what Monsanto or other food productions can provide that you don't need to worry about. Like, oh yeah, this is like food. All right, don't have to be paranoid about everything. Microplastics in your balls. uh, that's funny. Smiling Friends was a good show. Graceful. How you doing? Hi. I don't know how you'd be saying that, but you said hi longer the second time. But hey, how you doing? Glad you're here. Glad you joined the chat. Kelly Lennon. Kelly Lennon. Kelly Lennon. Say that like 7 times really fast. Um, are you like beard? Well, I mean, do you like my beard or am I like a beard? Either way, I'm probably both. I'm a beard. One way I'm a beard, the other way. I do like beards. If that's the question, I like beards, and some beards, again, can be more manageable than others. Some people's genetics have been blessed with like a huge beard, but with some other people might think of it as a burden because now I gotta worry about like all this product and condition. Now I gotta like, keep it nice and maintained, and it's super thick, and it bothers me when I'm sleeping. There's just a lot of things that like could you can oversee the complications of having super frizzy hair. Like my wife, she's half black and half Filipino, so her hair is like super thick. And if she doesn't straighten her hair out periodically, then her hair is just going to be so mismanaged, and it's going to be have too much tangles. It's going to be very frizzy. It's just going to be not manageable to keep a do. You can't. There are certain people that enjoy that kind of stuff, and there's many people that don't. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy this beard, because I love everything that I am. I love my head. I love my eyes. I love my beard. I love, just how I talk so imperfectly, but at the same time, I'm probably not that boring. And if I am, please tell me if I'm boring. Maybe I can like step it up, chug this poppy prebiotic soda, chug it. But hey, I think when it comes to liking your beard, you just gotta like yourself before you gotta like your beard. And if you don't like yourself, then yeah, you're gonna find the faults, many things about yourself that you don't like. Just like how there's a lot of guys out there that wish that they had like a thicker beard, but they don't realize that it takes just a lot more maintenance to have a thicker beard, especially like a wiry Brillo patty beard like mine. Like, again, I'm not perfect, because I do feel bothered by it sometimes. And after like that first year, it was like down here, I think. Man, it was like almost every other night I was just like, and especially in the heat. That can also deter having to want to get a beard. If you're in the desert, if you're in the heat all the time, the beard is not going to be helping you cool off. It's not. It's just going to keep you really like, ugh. But the winter time, man, that's when you have a beard. And that's why Santa Claus had a beard. And that's why I'll probably do Santa Claus, sometime around the holiday time to be the bearded legend. But yeah, you know, I don't judge people for not liking beards or liking beards, but I do appreciate my beard mostly, and I just I accept it. I accept it, whether it makes me look a little more homeless, whether it makes me look more older, whether it makes me a little less attractive, a little less attractive. If you believe it, if you look at this right now and see, wow, man, that's actually an attractive beard. Well, for some people, that might not be the case. All right, some people. My wife, for instance, I'm not saying that she doesn't find this attractive, but she finds it more attractive when she could actually see my face, because I have an attractive face. So that's why I probably, it's a good and bad thing. There's good things about having beards, and there's bad things about having beards. But hey, that's why I gotta, look nice and good looking, you know, especially for my wife, because hey, she's got to look at this face every single day for the rest of her life. All right, she don't want to be looking at like, oh my god, did I like marry this one of the bearded legends who's going to be talked about all year long, who's going to be talked about like forever. He's going to be the new bearded legend. That would be awesome. I would love to be the new bearded legend. I don't know if I have the chops for it, or I don't know if I have the poppy for it. I will be the poppy of the beards. I mean, I have been told that I am like the uncle. I'm the uncle of beards. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right. I'll be the bearded uncle of the bearded uncle of the legend, bearded legend uncle. I'm still thinking about it. I'm trying to play the word play, but yeah. So let's read a few more comments. I know there's maybe just a few more. Um, left, left thin, left thin, left thin, left thin seat, left thin seat. How you doing? Your beard grows so fast. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I like the compliments. But hey, guys, thank you guys for joining in. Thank you guys for coming in every single Saturday. If you're the people, which I think there's maybe one or two people that come in, periodically on Saturdays, just to say hi on the chat. I appreciate that. I can't thank you more. And it is Mother's Day weekend today. Tomorrow is the official Mother's Day, but hey, this is the time to enjoy and appreciate your mother. And if you don't have your mother, if your mother's not there with you, that's fine. Think about her, keep praises, keep her in your mind, because without your mother, we would not exist. The whole human race would not exist. Think about that. That's crazy, right? And I'm pretty sure Merlin understood that because he's a time traveler. He's a time traveling magician. So just appreciate your mothers. That's all I ask. Appreciate your mothers. Go call up your mother and say, "Hi, I love you. Thank you for birthing me. You did all you could. And I appreciate you. I love you." And that's all you need. You don't need like something extravagant. You don't need to go out to the buffet, unless that's what they want. Just go out and, have fun with your mom. Enjoy a good day with your mom. And you'll sooner or later start to just, appreciate family, because family is a part of the beard culture. Without the beard culture, we wouldn't be breedable, you know? No guys would want to be breeded with. No woman would want to breed with a bearded man, but that's not the case. Many women love beards, and many women are mothers. I would wish that all women are mothers, because that way we can all be fruitful and multiply. But that's something to be said. Either way, you women are potential mothers. You are the mothers of our next generation. You are the mothers that are going to keep nourishing this human race. So, you know, we all get like maybe a weekend or a month to celebrate, something about us, something about culture, something about people. But I think mothers should have like a longer month to celebrate, because man, just one day ain't enough. That's like, Father's Day just gets a little bit of the rap. We don't get anything because we're the providers going out making money, paying the bills, hopefully protecting your family when things get tough. That's what men are for. But women are the nurturers. Just like you got to nurture this beard, you got to have that feminine understanding of what it takes to nurture something that's on your face, that's in front of you, that's in a crib, that's in a planetarium, that's in I'm talking about like animals and stuff. But yeah, so anyways, we need to understand those dynamic energies of masculine and feminine. Feminine is very important because without feminine, we wouldn't have mothers. Without masculine, we wouldn't have protectors. We wouldn't have providers. We wouldn't have the back-breaking people that go out to work every single day to sacrifice, to make money for their families, to provide food, to bring home, provide bills, so we can have like the accommodations of Wi-Fi and lights that are lit up right now. You know, and without mothers, we wouldn't have the men to go out to provide and make a good family setting, a good family, situation, because family is important. We need those two. Just like how we need to understand what takes a beard, what takes the growth of making a beard. Not only nourishment, but also protection, determination, and strong will. Those come from those two different energies. And it's okay. Sometimes some guys, they don't like talk about their feminine energies, like their feminine ways. They don't talk about like, getting in touch with their thoughts and feelings, because honestly, too much of that, you're not a man anymore. You're just like, you're just kind of leaning towards, being something else. But hey, as long as it works for you, that's fine. But most men, they don't have that in them. But it's okay to kind of explore and just like understand both sides of those energies, because once you do, you'll be able to appreciate people like your mother. You'll be able to appreciate people like your father. You'll be able to appreciate your sons, your daughters, your cousins, your friends, your families, your neighbors. You'll be able to appreciate everyone around you, just like how this guy never made life so serious. That's the type of energy. Being able to be flighty, chaotic, goofy, and fun. but also serious and protective. That's a good. I didn't really discover that about Merlin at all, but I'm pretty sure that that is a sort of a dynamic of his magic. Is he's able to not only go back in time and see the future, but that's why he is who he is. He saw everything what was about to happen. He saw things that like became something that's very important in our society right now. You know, feelings are important. Facts should be more important too. That's the same type of dynamic. The feelings are feminine and the facts are masculine. So we need to appreciate those two. That way we can become harmonious with our own existence of humanity, which is fun. It's great. We can appreciate each other's different styles of beards, different patchiness, different thickness, different length. Everything about us we can appreciate. The color of our skin, the amount of time that we put in to study something, to appreciate other people who have certain talents. You know, this is a great thing that we can understand about ourselves, including humanity, if we just understand those two different energies. And of course, maybe it might be a spectrum, but hey, just understand that we need to know both sides of the opinion. We need to know the both sides of that energy, not just one side. Otherwise, we get restricted and we end up, you know, missing out on potential things that, you know, we're here to experience. So I don't know. I'm rambling on. This is usually this goes on around like 50 minutes to an hour. You know, I'm kind of pushing maybe an hour because I'm getting used to talking. I'm getting used to just being comfortable fumbling over my words and just having fun with you guys and reading the chat and saying, you know, hi. I'm enjoying all of this. So I'm looking forward to the next weekend. I'm going to get going, and you guys have a lovely Mother's Day weekend. Enjoy. Say that you appreciate your mother. Do something for your mom, you know? It doesn't have to be big, just as long as you did something for her. You showed her that she is appreciated because she went through so much hell to raise you in a hellish world that is almost like, you know, trying to disregard the family structure. And if we disregard the family structure, we are going to not understand the both sides of that spectrum of the energy. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I know this to be true in my heart. So, hey, just you guys let me know. You guys let me know. Because I grew up without a dad, but I also had a stepdad as well, you know, to sort of replace that energy. And I think I grew up pretty well. And you know, I'm still learning. I'm still a young guy, you know, even though I look, you know, hella old, an old uncle and everything. But you know, but until then, I will come back with another live next Saturday for another bearded legend, and we'll talk, you know, our whole week about, you know, what's going on and everything. I'll talk about more products. I'll be posting another video tomorrow. And yeah, until then, you guys have a good one. I will see you next time. Take care.